I can start with that in terms of, I'm one of the lighter fellows in our podcast, but for me, I gotta be honest.
Fellows.
I knew
that is so distinguished.
That was so light skinned.
I was trying not to go there.
You're now tuned in.
You're now tuned in.
You are now tuned in.
You're now tuned in.
You are now tuned in
to the Juxtaposition Podcast. What's going on? Welcome to Juxtaposition Podcast, aka The Extraordinary Nobodies, episode 9. Here with my guy Zoe.
Yo, what up?
James.
Hey, what it do, good people?
KV.
Yo, what it do? What it do? What it do? So the three
and
times.
The man of the hour, kicking it with Cleveland. What's going on?
What's up, man? How you feeling?
Nah, I'm chilling, but I feel like last week with my decorative pillow joint, I figured I'd make this shit a trend, and I got to start with something else random that I just don't agree with. Are y'all ready?
What is it?
Okay.
All right. Why do we act like Hennessy is good, yo?
Because it is.
It is?
House shelf cognac.
White, I don't know.
It's either Henny or Courvoisier.
I think it's an acquired taste. I think we had to grow into it.
Yo, son,
any liquor is acquired taste, though.
But why do we act like, why do we make Hennessy like the Gatorade of black people? I don't really enjoy, like, it's like a rites of passage. Like, everybody has to.
They look at you crazy if you don't drink Hennessy, right?
Right. And
I truly enjoy it, though.
But why?
I enjoy the results.
I like the taste. But
You
I mean, my drink of choice is not cognac, though, so it's whiskey. But I enjoy the taste of it.
What you talk about, Uncle Nearest?
Uncle Nearest, I mean, just whiskey in general, but Uncle Nearest is definitely a good brand. Uncle Nearest is, boy, that's like 101 proof.
It's right there.
That Uncle Nearest is real.
You start the car with that.
Cleveland from South Jersey, you know about that moonshine?
I know all about the moonshine.
that corn liquor.
Nah, you can keep that moonshine. I'm not, man. I don't mess with that.
But back to the Henny. Like, why is Henny good? Somebody explain it to me. I don't understand.
Go ahead, Kev.
I mean, I would just say the way it's processed. I mean, other than that, but and that's kind of how you can judge the quality of what you're drinking based off of like the reaction the next day. And if it's like a bad hangover, then there's no bueno. If it's
no good.
Like tequila, oh my God, it's amazing. I feel like
tequila,
I'm learning to do.
Fantastic.
I disagree.
Disagree with that too.
Worst nights of my life.
I hate tequila.
That's me.
I hate tequila.
Yeah, vodka.
That's what I swore. I swore off of liquor many times after drinking tequila. Like, I'll never do this again, Lord. Just
when I had
the room from spinning.
I went to Jamaica and I did like a liquor like tour that they have. Nah, they have what is it called? Appleton rum, I believe.
Oh, Appleton Estates.
It was so they had showed us that like if you take like liquor and you pour it in a cup and then you like kind of tilt it, and when you tilt it back, the residual, if it like drips down quickly, then that means it's cheap. But if it has like a slow,
a little residue,
like dripping back down the glass, like when you do that, you bring it back down, you'll see like the residue on the glass cave that he's showing right now in the video. But if it comes down slow, then that means that it's a better quality alcoholic beverage.
I do prefer Douce over the Hennessy, though.
Never had it.
Douce is good too.
Come on, bro. They don't got Douce in Boston?
You don't really
do have it. Yeah.
Maybe they don't. It is a black-owned beverage.
Let me back up. Cleveland, do you partake in the spirits? Not the spirit. The spirits.
Yeah, occasionally.
Not the water that turned into wine.
No, not just communion. Not just communion. I know the Christians go hit the show up like, oh, you part? Yes, I do.
Yes.
Not, occasionally a little something.
Yo, hold on real quick before you get to that. I'll tell you what's worse than Hennessy. And my dad bought it the other day by accident. Well, what happened was Morgan dropped the Captain Morgan. How weird is that? And it was a handle, broke all over the outside. I'm like, oh, you're kidding me. So I had to go back to the liquor store. My dad, what does he come back with? Bacardi Gold.
Oh, no. All right. We're moving on, Alonzo. Yeah. We are not going down the... We are not We are not doing that. But Deuce,
That
if you're
was
listening,
Cleveland drink in college.
College.
Why you bringing him back to the? He's of the cloth. You bringing him back.
First of all, college doesn't count when it comes to acquired taste because we were drinking with Jorska and all types of
Dragonberry.
Dragonberry,
all right.
Pop Off.
I gotta come back in. Why do we think Dragonberry was like exclusive? Not like exclusive vodka, but like we thought Dragonberry was doing something.
That was an exotic drink. It was called Dragonberry.
That was exotic, man. You had to put people on. They didn't know about that flavor.
You know what happened? Ciroc did that.
Dragonberry was the ish. That's all I'm gonna say.
Wasn't that after like the Ciroc berry?
Yeah, yo. I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to do this, but I used to really be loyal to Ciroc. Coca Losa was a drink back in like what 2011 to like 2013, and Ciroc puts you down, bro. Like headache central, all that sugar, like it's
anything
way too sweet.
All I know about Hennessy though, the next day you wear Hennessy cologne, cause that shit come out your pores.
That is very true.
You like, yo, you was drinking Hennessy yesterday?
It depends on how much you drink. Though. I mean, you drink the entire bottle at a club, you know. That's the possibility. But if you enjoy it responsibly, you know.
Oh, there we go.
You won't be smelling like Hennessy.
I definitely used to go to work when I lived in Trenton, smelling like Catmandu the next day.
Bro, I got a story about that, like not from Kathmandu, but in terms of going to work the next day after partying. I'm not gonna say where I was working at the time, but I was definitely in college, and I used to go to work on a Sunday after partying Saturday, and for like 2 hours, I would rip up cardboard boxes that we got shipment in, lay it down on the bathroom floor, and just go to sleep for like 2 hours.
Oh my god! Love sleep.
Walk in and just go right to the bathroom, pass out. Boy, I was hurting.
But look at you now.
Now he's rich.
I am.
Thank you, Cleveland.
I hope people don't really listen to this and believe that nonsense.
Look at your stairwell in the back. You are.
Buck.
You are.
This is giving the best light.
No, Var, forget the stairwell. Is that like electronic? Like wireless
thermostat.
Yeah,
you got that Nest. That's Nest, ain't it?
That was free.
Oh, all right. Ain't nothing free in this world, banker. All right, let's move on to how your weeks were. You can pick how your week was, best thing you've seen this week. It's up to you. I'm gonna start with the man of the hour, the Prince of Praise, kicking it with Cleveland.
Yo, man, my week was good, man. I finally posted a motivational video, which I haven't in a very long time.
Yes,
it felt good, man. It was very well received. The best part about the process, though, is I think I sparked my wife's interest in editing. Like, so she was editing it, and she was really getting into it. Yo, we literally stayed up until 3 o'clock in the morning. But it wasn't like a hard 3 o'clock in the morning. You know what I'm saying? It was like the energy was enjoyable. Just there. And now
I thought you was gonna say like, yeah, my wife just figured out that I'm dope.
Well, hopefully she do that. That's why you said yes. But nah, man. But that was the best thing I've done this week, definitely.
Yeah, bro. That's the first thing that's the first thing I saw this morning. Like I was like, let me go look for it, and I sat all 8 minutes sideways on the bed. I mean, hoping the phone don't hit me in the face.
Thanks, man. I appreciate y'all looking at it, man. I do.
Yeah, man. KV, what's going on? How was your week?
Nothing crazy new, nothing crazy, crazy highlights. But I will say that, spoke to my nephew actually. That was cool.
Okay.
He's growing, man. 3 years old now. Talking, he'll tell you what he likes.
Oh, that's fire.
We got one of those water filter joints that's like supposed to be a 10-year filter thing. It's supposed to last like 10 years, something like that, whatever. And so it's cool. He was a good energy, good kid. Just had a good time catching up with him.
What about them STEM classes? That's engineering for you, man. Are you like this? Build this.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely gonna develop some STEM programming his way. He's definitely getting that. Already got some camps lined up from next summer.
Yeah,
it's gonna hit some stuff like that, so that'll be cool.
That's what's up.
James was good. How was your week?
My week was good, man. Haven't done much. Starting back work next Monday, so this week I just kind of Been trying to work out a little bit, eat better, and relax before I actually get back into working back full time.
We had a meeting yesterday, and James was on camera flexing like we ain't noticed. You know, James is reaching for things like, excuse me, pardon me.
Just a little stretch, you know.
Yeah.
Anybody had tickets to the gun show? James had ass. So it was good. How was your week?
My week was great.
Happy birthday to Amber. Happy birthday to Amber.
Yeah, my daughter, my oldest daughter, turned 8 years old.
8, that's crazy.
8.
No, it seems like the other day she was just 4 pounds and some change, a month early. Yeah. Which I'm still a little disappointed. She's supposed to be born on Barb's birthday, but
I know.
Said she was born on a couple of other people in my family's birthdays. Anyway, moving along. But yes, my daughter's birthday, we celebrated at mom's crib. We brought the safari to us, a couple of little big horses and what do you call that? It was like geese and sheep and
it's called a zoo.
Yeah, pretty much. They brought the zoo to us in one of them trucks. And then we had the Readers, man. It was a black-owned couple that owned like a Readers, and they came.
Oh, but you got to tell people what Readers is.
Readers
it's not everywhere.
Italian ice. It's not? Dang.
No.
Well,
they got Readers here in the Bay Area, but it's newer. Like, so Italian ice, and it's the way that we know it, like even the mom and pop spots, Readers is not everywhere. It's kind of strange.
Is it only me that calls it water ice? Everybody else calls it.
I used to.
No, water ice is different to me.
No, water ice is the same. It's like on some South Jersey type stuff.
South Jersey, we say Italian ice, we say water ice. But then when I say it like to anybody else, they don't make sense. Like, how's it water and ice?
I got converted when I got to Ryder. They made fun of me for saying room instead of room. Spoon.
I hate that.
Or water. I used to say water all the time. It's water.
I don't say water. That's like too much emphasis. Water.
Lazy talkers.
They converted me. So,
nah, but I thought to me, water ice is like, remember the snow cones?
Snow cones,
drizzle like the little
snow cones. Yo, bro, snow cones ain't nothing but regular ice with Kool-Aid poured on top of it.
Yeah. I thought of water ice is
ice is sugar. That's all it is.
That's crazy.
It's like the joint that come with the little wooden little
spoons.
But that's what I would call a water ice. Snow cones.
What you got? What they got in Trenton, Kev? You see something different?
No, I mean, I was gonna say that's the hustle right now in Baltimore is the water ice. It's the snow cones. I'm seeing them on every corner. I'm driving by. You got guys got little tents. You see the syrup. You see the thing of ice.
Right. The sugar
so trash though.
You just left with a ball of ice. It's terrible.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Nah, we have Readers. We know Readers well. I mean, Readers is a thing back at home. So I mean, call it Readers. We don't call it a water ice or Italian ice. We call it Readers.
Yeah.
Because in South Jersey, we have like mom and pop spots that sell water ice.
Yeah.
And it is mostly like Italian folks. So that's why I don't know where you got the Italian ice. I don't know if they got that kind of ice in Italy, first of all. So I don't even know
gelato in Italy.
James been there.
Right.
They got gelato.
Yeah. James, didn't you propose in Italy?
I did in Venice.
Flex. In Venice on a gondola. Wasn't it not on a gondola?
It was on the gondola ride, yes.
And the wealth continues. You're gonna hear more about his wealth and window of opportunity later on.
Flexing with James. Hit him with the flex.
Definitely get your notepads out.
Yeah, for Pasage's Picks 2019.
Ah, there we go.
Pasage's Picks.
Pasage's Picks. But Zoe, my fault. What you done with your week?
I was done. That's. I mean, I spent a lot of money. That's the only bad part. The good part is for my daughter, so that's cool.
All right. Well, in that case, you can, take the ball. Go ahead and continue with Zoe Knows.
Bars actually passing the ball, right?
I pass the ball every week. Audio like.
But look, for the Zoe Knows, we got the news. As we all know, our, I guess, the leader in chief or whatever you want to call him, because
my man in the White House.
Yeah. The orange and the white, and he's being investigated for a million other crimes that he's committed. But New York prosecutors say that Trump's investigation seems to be extending beyond hush money payments. So I don't know, maybe some bodies might float up in this. Some people have been taken out. So many other different rules have been broken. But his lawyer decided that they wanted to try to block the judge and the grand jury their subpoena from the accountant. They wanted to subpoena his accountant. So they're trying to block it, and the prosecutors are telling the judge to dismiss his block or his reverse lawsuit to challenge the subpoena for his financial records, which he's been ducking for the last, 4 years, 3.5 years?
He never
or more.
Yeah, he won't do it. He asked for my man's birth certificate. We found the birth certificate, and we still don't have it.
Found it like it was in
I mean, they would make it seem like it was lost, you know? So we got the birth certificate, but yet we don't have this guy's financial records. So we already know what that is. He's hiding not something, a lot of things.
Yeah. With that too, though, you know that like the Supreme Court ruled in his favor that they don't have to hand over his financial records, and like for the Senate, they were trying to get his financial records. So, but the Supreme Court said they don't have to give it, but it doesn't exclude the New York prosecutor from getting them, which I thought was weird. I'm like, so
federal doesn't reign over top of.
It's not necessarily federal. So
it's Senate.
Federal,
my fault.
like yeah. So with the Congress and the Senate, that if they get it, I think it becomes public information. So that's why I think they ruled in his favor for that, so it doesn't become public. But if the New York prosecutor get out, I believe that's still federal, but they have to keep it private.
So let me ask you a question, James. At your tax bracket, do you get newsletters with this information?
I fucking hate you.
He was mad well versed. He was like, so the way we rich people function.
He get the confidential bulletin.
Yeah.
Nah, man, I read the Wall Street Journal. So
okay.
You get that for free. They don't got to subscribe.
I just read the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah, I still use my student discount for that. So
as you should.
Discounted drastically, yeah.
Recent grad,
son. Right. Just like the 1%, taking advantage of all the tax breaks and shit.
Use that till it expire.
Shit.
Next, since we're on the topic of y'all favorite person, Trump, one of his African Americans, as he likes to say, actually died. Herman Cain, who took a picture at the rally that was in Tulsa, no mask. All the people around him, no mask. And of course, he dies from coronavirus complications, which is crazy because he was a cancer survivor. So he was already playing with fire. And I just think it's crazy because he literally tweeted stuff that we don't need him, pretty much agreeing with Trump as a hoax. And for whatever reason, 2020 is a crazy year. It's been taking people out left and right. It's like the Armageddon year, but more like it's really on some. If 2020 was a person, or more like if 2020 was a phrase, it'd be like, look at God, because
facts
out here working. Like, which brings me to my next news topic. Which is my man Jonathan Isaac, who was refused to kneel because he said his religious beliefs, or he said a lot of different things, to be honest. It's all convoluted, but he refused to kneel. Then in the same game that he refused to kneel, he tore an ACL, season-ending injury, on that knee that he could have saved if he would just taken a knee.
I don't think
can't say that he.
I'm telling you, bro, it's 2020.
Ancestors went in there and snatched that knee right from him.
Yep.
It wasn't the same game, though. Was it the same game?
Yeah, it was the same game, yo.
No, I think it was. Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
I think.
I
mean, so. I'm not.
Who did they play? Who did they play when that happened?
I can tell you right now.
I actually don't know.
Yeah, well, I don't think that was like 2 days after.
I thought it was
take that, Alonso.
Yeah, he had to sit on it though. In terms of like,
hey, whether it was 2 days or the same day, it happened within 48. What they call an instant karma.
Look, you know when black people be wrong, we start making up new rules. Well, it happened within 48 hours. So
that's it. I think it was the same game because I felt like that joint happened so fast and they just literally like posted it up.
It's crazy that people are like refusing to support the Black Lives Matter mantra, let's call it, because of some of the things written within the Black Lives Matter like
yes.
What do you want to call it? Like I don't want to call it bylaws. Their mission statement.
Their mission statement, yeah.
Basically, that's so false to me, because like the movement itself, the movement overall to me is bigger than the organization. The movement is about Black lives literally mattering. I don't know if that's an actual word, but you know, Black lives that are not are not held accountable for taking Black lives. The problem that some people have with it, specifically some Christians have with it, is there's some things written in the mission statement that doesn't necessarily align with Christian beliefs. But I think we have to be wise enough to separate the two. It's really about the movement more than the organization, in my opinion.
And I think that that's what most people are celebrating, because there are some pieces that are a little not comforting. They are. It's like one piece. I'll let people, Google this for themselves. But there's one piece that says they seek to dismantle the nuclear family.
Yeah.
And that's a little like eyebrow raising. Does that mean you don't want? I'm not gonna go down that path, because I feel like people can make their own deductions, and I don't want us to be on record saying how we do or don't support something that's so important. So, but yeah, I feel you, Cleveland. I feel you.
Movement is bigger than
because I just kind of recap. He definitely stood at the Brooklyn's game. It was a Brooklyn that they played when he stood. Then Sacramento's when he got hurt, when he tore his ACL.
How fitting is that, James? That you were supposed to move to Sacramento, and now
that movement.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was trying to make it make sense, and it was no string. My fault. But Zoe, I know you wanted to talk about Obama at John Lewis's funeral. So you can kind of go over that a bit.
Go and YouTube his actual speech. He said a lot of important things. He obviously took shots at the current administration, but he really emphasized everything that John Lewis stood for. But I want people to go do their own research and listen to it, because it's so refreshing to hear someone speak articulately over a podium. And it just was like, man, like I felt like I wanted to tear up like that. I miss him, yo.
I really man. That's my man.
I ain't seen you in a minute, bro. How you been? Like, that's how I felt watching. So anybody who wants to feel good, watch that speech. Not only because of what he says, but just the tone. Everything about it is just very presidential. But he's Barack. He always got swag, as opposed to your man who can't say. What did he say? He said something wrong today. Did you see?
We don't got to dive deep into him. We just focus on Obama.
The contrast is so crazy.
That's
why it's very important for people to actually watch the speeches. From the funeral. It's not. I know it's a funeral, but the speeches were very uplifting. They were good. They were motivating, and they had a little historical value to it. So it's something you can learn as well.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool to see the former presidents that came to pay their respects, like former President Clinton and even G.W. Bush. It was almost good to see him, which is crazy.
A far cry from how we felt.
A lot of class for him to come and pay his respects. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the current president couldn't even do that, which is.
I mean, but do we think that's a low bar though, for somebody who literally almost gave his life for the country? And if you actually worked in concert with him, is it so far to say like George W. showing up is like admirable? Not to say that it's not, but like that's work together, and like he literally gave his life to make the country better.
To me, I think why it comes across as admirable is because when he was in office, everybody thought like he was not about the brown folks and the black.
Right.
George Bush doesn't care about black people.
So for him to come out and say like, no, I'm going to pay my respects to this man, to me, it kind of showed that like, maybe it didn't fully show that like, all right, I'm down with y'all, but it showed that he at least had enough decorum to say, all right, I want to show my face and pay my respects. You know what I mean?
Plus, a lot of things today, I feel like it's so partisan. Like, they split everything. You either one way or the other. So it's like they don't even expect any Republicans to be there. You know what I'm saying? Right.
That makes sense.
Which is crazy, and that's and talking about that, Zoe, is kind of what we're gonna get into as well. We can kind of jump into that bar. but the dude who died, Herman Cain, right? He was a Republican. It was something I was like kind of looking at. I seen a few things online about how people was basically saying because he's black, and his views were kind of go against what normally black people on how they view, and a lot of times most black people are Democrats, and he was obviously a Republican, and it's kind of going to like, well, is it really a stigma if a black person is Republican? Is it really an issue if someone is Republican? I want to definitively say I'm not a Republican, right? I am okay to admit what my political affiliation is to the world. I'm a Democrat. I'm a registered Democrat. I have no problem saying that all. But is it really an issue for black people being Republican? And I don't think that there's an issue for black people being Republican. That's perfectly fine. I think the issue that people probably have with him is his views on Donald Trump and how he was so appreciative of him and thought everything he did was so great. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. Donald Trump is not a good person. He's not a good leader. He's just a terrible person. I don't care about his policies at this point in time. He's just not fit to be in office to run the United States.
I think that people can see what it looks like to try to buddy and try to try to gain some type of nepotism or try to be aligned to power. We see that how false that is. It's like, all right, bro, like, all right, do your thing. Like we get it. That's your hustle. All right, bet. And I think that it hurts a lot of people when we have folks like John Lewis who literally gave his life. And not to say that we expect everybody to do that, because that's not right. But when you are in the space, you have the ears, you are an elected official, we expect people to at least pay homage to your lived experience and like want to do something about it to shake it up, as opposed to like holding up the status quo. Right. Which definitely brings us. Go ahead, Zoe.
One thing, like what James was saying, I think because people have to understand, black people, we're not all the same. Obviously, we all have different views, upbringings, tax brackets, whatever makes your decision. People pick political parties for different reasons, right? It's not always. Some is economic. Some, is really you pick it to fit with your current situation. But I think with the whole not liking black people being Republicans is because they say, the speed of the leader determines the speed of the pack. And if that's the leader and you hear the things that he's saying, it's like it's a question. It's a how do you ignore certain things? Because me personally, neither Democrat or Republican, but me personally, I don't understand how people can ignore certain things. You know what I'm saying? Like, even the racist stuff that's blatant, and also the history. So that's why I would feel like a lot of people will get down on other black people that are Republicans, because it's almost like some Clayton Bigsby type stuff.
But I mean, I don't
in our eyes.
I feel you, and I want to go deeper on that topic because I think that we should be allowed to be either or, and we shouldn't be pigeonholed into that certain Democratic Party. But what I do want to transition this to is our first topic, and it's specifically about Blackness, right? So we are 5 Black men, and we have had to develop a set of skills in order to determine our fates. Like, we grew up with negative images of Black men in the media. We grew up with negative images of Black women in the media, loud Black woman, angry Black man, those type of narratives. And I think sometimes your first exposure to Blackness may not be favorable. So the question I want to open it up with is, for all of y'all, when was the first time that you realized you were Black?
So I can start that.
Go ahead, go for it. No, that's good.
So for me, I growing up in the town where I'm from, you were either Black or Hispanic, right? You rarely seen anything else. So I used to go to Philadelphia a lot because my dad's side of my family, all my uncles and cousins are from Manayunk, which is a suburban area of Philadelphia. And I think one of the first times I went there, I went to go play basketball. I probably was like 12 years old. I went to go play basketball with my cousin at their like rec recreation center. And up until this point, I never really, it was never a question of did I know I was black. It just, no one ever brought it up because there was just no reason. You're always around people that look like you.
Mm-hmm.
So we go play basketball, and we're playing basketball against these two white kids. And, one of them was supposed to be this good player, young, whatever the case is. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I played basketball at 12, how I kind of play now still.
Beat everybody up.
So I might have
Carlos Boozer.
Yeah.
I might have been a little aggressive, but I think my shot was a little bit better when I was younger than it is now. So I did shoot a lot, but I was able to also post up stuff like that. And we end up winning. And this kid got so angry and so mad and called me a nigger. Damn. And that was the first time in my life that I was called a nigger. And I mean, I almost lost my mind. And it was my cousin who held me back because he's also black. And he kind of like is more of a, I guess, not a norm, but maybe it's like, it's not worth it. So he kind of held me back and was like, it's not worth it, this and that. But from that point on, I kind of realized like, okay, this is what it's like to be black in America or black in areas where we don't look like the majority. Because where I'm from, everyone looks like me.
Those words struck you though, even though you had never been called that before. The words struck you enough to want to react.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you know exactly what it meant. You know how they meant it when it came out, and I was like, okay, well, this is kind of what it's like to be black in America. And I kind of afterwards just was like, let it go, but you know what it is, and it stays with you.
Right.
Definitely does.
Go ahead, Cleve. I know you wanted to speak on it.
The first time I knew that my being black was different, I'll say, because I felt like I always knew I was black. We always talked about black stuff in my house. But like the first time that I knew that it was seen as different or inferior to people, I was living in a town called Washington Township at the time, which was predominantly
it still is.
Yeah, it still is. But this dog got loose. So the dog got loose and was running, and everybody was trying to catch the dog. So some reason the dog started like running towards me, and I was chilling. I was like, all right, well, it's running towards me and wants to play. Like, all right, I'm gonna tell the dog to chill. They can come catch it. So as the dog is running towards me, the dog starts to like calm down. And before I touched the dog, the little white boy was like, no. The dog doesn't like black people.
Oh, no.
Like, the dog doesn't like black people. Like, all right. Wow. So I just let the dog keep running off. But that's like the first time I really had an experience where like somebody tried to say like, because I was black, basically, that I was inferior. Like, all you other little white kids can help me catch my dog that's running loose. But the black kid who actually could have stopped the dog from running, you said, don't touch my dog because the dog doesn't like black people. That was the first time. I had to be like 7 or 8 years old. And I was like, okay, being black is different. You know what I mean? That was my first experience.
How about you, KV or Jane? Or Zoe? Alonzo.
I'll go. I mean, I'll try. You guys heard Weezy speak, and how he was like he never had a racist controversy. Yes. That was almost me, right? I almost kind of felt that, but then when I thought about it, it was never a direct moment as you guys described. Every time I had an encounter, it was always like an indirect experience. It's never been a straight direct shooter.
It's like covert racism versus overt. So it's been more like on the low.
Yeah. So, but the one of the experiences that I can remember, I mean, because the thing is, like, my family always tried to like cover up the idea, whether it was like conversations, but more so appearance, right? So it's always about dressing the part so you are not perceived as whatever that is, right? So or threat. So one particular moment I had, it was probably like in the 3rd or 4th grade. It was a school dance, and I literally had khakis on and a button-up shirt. It was tucked in. It had some loafers on. And everybody was it creased? Might have been. It was doctors.
So you was a noob already.
Trying to get the whole vision.
My mom, it was Carol's doing. She kind of saw it. So, but I was only like I told you guys, I went to a private school like K through 8, and then high school. I went to a pretty much the big brother, big sister school, and then went to an HBCU. So like my experience was like K through 3rd, being the only black kid and having a moment of just like being the only black kid and remembering looking at the class picture and seeing myself as the only black kid standing in the back which is when I had that moment where just like things are really different. And I can't remember a real reason when anger or rage because I was attacked or any kind of way. Like, and that never really happened per se. But I hung out with a lot of white kids growing up, which was interesting and like kind of helped to expose a little bit. But you know, it was just one of those things where you just kind of knew you were different. You knew things were just awkward because, you know, of whatever the reasons were. But there's thousands of scenarios like being the only black kid and feeling uncomfortable, or people asking you to do things because you were the only black kid, and or asking you to tell us, you know, or even so much so, I think the most disrespect I think I felt in real time was when people try to pretend that they're black when they're white around me just because I'm there, like try to be down, like, turn on that trying to be yeah. And that always felt weird, you know. So
I hated
those is how I always interpret those. It was just like, all right, you don't normally talk like this. I'm just here.
Like, why you so extra right now? Like,
you don't even watch Martin.
Like, what's up, yo?
You
don't even.
Yeah, all of that. Yeah. So, you know, unfortunately, you know, that was a thing, but
yeah, it's the name of the
that
game.
was kind of like as close as I can remember as being a experience. I probably had something as I got older, but nothing that sticks out.
How about you, Zoe?
I was more like similar to Cleveland, where like, you know, from day one it was you black. Like my family, I mean, my grandmother, my great grandmother from Montgomery, Alabama, and did the Great Migration up here during the Civil Rights Movement. So it's like we were always like influenced and taught like black history, black this. Nobody should know more about black than you because you black. Can't nobody tell you about you. All those type of old adages and phrases. So I kind of knew from an early age, and it was especially like extra, I guess, obviously because I'm lighter.
Are you?
Yeah.
Damn,
a little bit.
I'm not even sure if I noticed.
Yeah, just a little tad bit shade lighter. But so which is like we got to go the extra mile because obviously from our own we always catching the jokes, but
stop it! Don't you play victim? Don't you dare! We're not getting into it right now. Stay tuned. Listeners, stay tuned for the second half where we expose Alonzo. Go ahead, keep going.
Ain't nothing exposed over here. But yeah, so I knew, you know, at an early age. I think the first experience, like bad experience I had, was I was in 6th grade, and I'll never forget this. We was at Franklin Mills Mall, and my dad, we were rushing to leave because my dad, it was my parents' anniversary, and Morgan was like 3 months old, so I was about 10, and we were there was a car of all white boys and a car of all white girls in the parking lot facing like opposite ways, but they're talking. And mind you, in the parking lot, so people waiting, people honking the horn. We sitting there like, yo, y'all need to pull up to the front or get out and go in the mall and talk. But like, people gotta go, and y'all just really having this conversation. So my dad honks the horn like, all right, come on, what are we doing? He has to get the anniversary gift before the store closes. So obviously he's in a rush. But they drove off. The white girls were directly in front of us, and the white boys were to the left, coming like the opposite, coming our way. And they drove off, and they like, fucking nigger, like yelled. I remember I was in the front seat. My mom was in the back with Morgan because she was so little. Bro, I was in tears. I was like screaming.
So that means that you was what, 10?
Yeah, 10-ish? I was 10. And then I told my dad, like, go get him. Like, also, like, you're gonna see and hear a lot more of that. You gotta pick and choose. And my dad said, you notice they see how fast they drove off, and there was a car that loaded them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They wouldn't do it, and in my face, they wouldn't stop. So I was pissed off the whole time. I mean, I was highly upset, and that was like my first experience on. Like I heard about it, I seen stories. I mean, I was in 3rd grade, like 7, 8 years old, watching Black history documentaries, so I saw it, but to experience it and hear it, it was like, it was crazy.
Well, this is something I want to let y'all know, and this is like purely by accident. The observation that I made is that I asked y'all when was the first time that y'all noticed y'all were Black, and y'all all give me negative experiences. Like, so that's something that right there is indicative of like what it means inherently to be Black, that like you are reminded of your Blackness through a traumatic experience. So I'll start there before I continue with my part. So I can remember 2 times when I knew that I was Black. I don't know which one came first, but the first one was growing up in Penns Grove, New Jersey. You knew that the town over, which was Pennsville, was very racist, right?
Yeah,
now you hear these things and it doesn't make sense. But there was a Black family. I didn't know it was a Black family at the time. A family moved in to a house they just bought, and the KKK came and like planted the cross, the burning cross on their lawn. And I remember my mom telling me this story, and I'm like, that sounds like the history books that I learned about like 2 years ago about like what happened in the South in the, in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. And it's like, this happened down the street. It's like, now the processing happens. It's like, what's the reason? My mom was like, it's a Black family. The KKK don't like Black people. And I'm like, so they don't like me? And like, what the fuck? Like, it was like, the connections was crazy. The second thing that I realized when I was Black, my mom used to always say things like, there's nothing more powerful than a Black man with knowledge, right? She said that, she used to say it all the time. And I'm thinking like, why, like, what's the thing? Just like James, I grew up in an area where there was very little white people, but you don't really determine what you are. You just are. But it was only into like maybe middle school where you begin to experience like racist teachers. And like you begin to experience like the system, like the systematic portrayal of racism. And then you're like, oh, this is what I was being prepared for this whole time. And I had no idea. Have y'all experienced like racism within school, education?
Oh, definitely.
Definitely. Like, talk to me about that.
I remember in high school, we had block scheduling. And so like the first half of the year, you have a set of classes. Second half of the year, you have a set of classes. So I had history the second half of the year, which is the spring semester, which, starts in January. So February is Black History Month. So I'm in class and we ain't learning no Black history in February. So I asked the teacher, I said, why aren't we learning about Black history? It's February. And she was like, well, the curriculum has to be the same for both sessions or whatever, both semesters. I was like, so we don't learn about Black history in the other semester? And she said, no. And I was like, well, I don't think that's fair because Black history is a part of American history. It's a part of U.S. history. She told me to get off my soapbox, like specifically.
Oh, damn.
Get off your soapbox. You sound like a soapbox preacher. So I didn't really get the
foreshadow.
Yo, it's crazy. Listen, I'm gonna find her name, but
send her your link.
Exactly.
Before you did.
So I asked my dad, I was like, what does she mean by that? My dad was like, what she means is like soapbox preachers are like Black people who used to stand on the corner and basically tell people about the truth, whether it was about Christianity or whether it was just about empowering other Black people. They would stand on the corner and preach from a soapbox. So
it's happening right now on 34th Street in Times Square.
It probably is. Like the Black Israelites be out there. But yeah, man, like that was one time I was like, all right, so we're not going to learn about Black history, and now you're mocking me for bringing it up. And I was just making a statement. I wasn't even like really preaching. So that was my first experience where I was like, all right, not my first experience. One experience where I was like, this teacher is not really about the Black cause or Black.
And I definitely had a bit of denial. Like, you hear a teacher is racist, but you always hear from the bad kid first. She don't want me to win. Like actually, Tim, you ain't been to school in like 3 months. She don't care about you. But
that's
then
funny, man.
Go ahead,
that's
KV.
Real. No, I was saying like, I told you I went to a private school, right? Yeah. And most of my teachers were nuns for the most part, right? I remember this one particular moment. It was funny, but it was not at the same time. Feister Andrews, shout him out. Sister Kathleen, I'm gonna send her this link. But something happened, and this was algebra, right? And all I remember her saying was, "Get your cotton picking hands off
What?
of that," or something.
Yo.
Oh, absolutely not.
Bruh, it was like a moment where people just didn't know how to respond. Like half the class was busting out, cracking up, laughing, and then it was the same kind of response. It was like half of that, half of it was just like a little bit of everything, and I'm just like, wow.
Gotta hit it with the sis.
That-
Relax, sis.
She's like, get your cotton picking hands, something, something, something.
Sister Kathleen should be ashamed of herself.
Very ashamed of herself. And
Wild.
that was wild, man. And that was like one of those things where I was just like, wow. Can't believe she said that.
Was this high school?
Yeah, sophomore year.
Sheesh. Have y'all ever heard, anybody here heard of the school to prison pipeline?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'll just go over it briefly.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I didn't hear you.
Yeah, so if you look at schools, and I'm sure that all of our experiences are similar. I was speaking about the bad kid Tim, but what Tim probably needed was some love, which is why he was bad in quotes. And they sent kids like that to detention very early, easy. Like, all right, go to detention. That detention mindset leads people to think, oh, I don't have a choice. So really taking kids and putting them in detainment, which is what detention is prepping them for a life of crime in jail. There's a direct lineage between how Black kids were policed in schools and how that translates directly to kids landed in jail and in prison. Yeah. So I want to take the conversation here. How was it observing? Because I feel like we're all somewhat exceptions, right? We all have been growing up around people who, aren't doing as well as we are. Fortunately, we are in the positions that we're in. But like, have y'all ever had a bit of like survivor's guilt? Any of that? Like, why me type vibe?
Hell no. I'm gonna tell you, I haven't, because I felt like it wasn't. I mean, I just felt like I worked at it. I worked hard, so I didn't really feel that. I do know that my circumstance may have contributed to it. Obviously,
right.
two parent in the home, and my college educated parents, stuff like that. But
hold on, I think the pool has something to do with it too.
Yeah, nah, we ain't get that until like I was about to meet y'all at Ryder. Like,
I can't wait until Zoe tells his origin story so he can tell y'all how he grew up. But when you see his house, you're like, man, listen.
Yo,
absolutely.
Listen.
I've never seen a house so big in my life.
We moved there. I was already in high school. It was like I had already had a different life. Now Morgan,
and West Philadelphia, born and raised, in the playground where you spend most of your days.
Exactly.
When I say I've never seen a house like that big in my life, I'm not kidding. Like, I never seen houses growing up in general. So when I went to TC&J, I still didn't see houses, and then I ended up going to Zocra. I'm like, yo, who lives here?
Right.
I was like,
It's crazy.
I'm like, this is wild. Like, hold on.
Then Money Mitch walk out like, yo.
Money Mitch.
Anyway.
Shout out to Money Mitch, man.
Shout out to Money Mitch.
It was like money in the bank.
My fault, so go ahead.
But like I said, I like, we moved there, so it wasn't something where I was born into the house. I knew nothing else. Like, when I was born, like, we lived in my grandmother's basement, like, in the room probably the size of some people's walk-in closet. So I didn't have a bed. I lived in an army cot, and I used to go upstairs, and my mom used to be mad because I leave her at night and go in my grandma's room, because all grandmas got like a king-size bed with heavy-ass sheets.
And AC.
Yeah, they got an AC in their room for whatever reason, right? So
the only AC in the house in grandma's room.
It's always in grandma's room, or in the den in the back, right? So that was my little situation. But like, for me, I never had the like guilt, because I just, like I said, I was always fighting through it. I felt like I couldn't. They always knew I was Black regardless, so they were going to treat me out however. Like, you know what I mean? They didn't know where my family lived. In fact, I'll give you a quick story about something like you said. This is the reason why I didn't have that. When I got to Jackson, it was and still is very, very racist. But it's not as bad now as it was then because there are more black and minority, like brown people that moved there. But when I was there, it was like 12 black people, right? It was like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a shock coming all my way down from New York to Jersey City to South Brunswick. I kept moving further and further south, and I just thought we was just going back into Jim Crow. I actually had a teacher my sophomore year. I'm growing my hair out. I had the braids, took my hair out, and I had like a pick in my head. Like, of course,
like Method Man.
Of course, I had to pick with the fist, but
Is there any other pick? Don't all picks have fists?
I guess that's all I ever saw. So, to my knowledge,
they better be black owned too. We gotta look into
that. They probably
all these. James, matter of fact, on your Passage's picks, figure out where the pick companies are getting figure out what their stock is.
Yeah, where the fist picks is at? Where
the fist picks? Where the fist picks?
So when the teacher says, take the pick out of your head, I'm like, for what? Like, it's not bothering you, like, right? We're in world history class, and he said, we're not in the hood, G. I said,
nah.
Swear to God, on everything I love. And I was like, I don't live in the hood, so what are you talking about? And then he said,
should have showed him a picture of your house.
Listen, I'm about to bring that's what comes into play. So he said to me, like, where do you live at? Where you live in South Wind? And I don't know. I'm new to the town. I've been in the town for maybe 2 months. We moved in the summer, so I didn't get to know anything. Ain't no sidewalks in Jackson, so I was walking around looking. But I have no idea what he's talking about. And then like a day later, I'm in the car with my dad, and we're driving, and I look to my right, and I see that sign says South Wind, and I'm like, oh hell nah! This dude thought I lived in a trailer park. I said,
oh wow.
Yo, I was super hot. I couldn't wait to get back to school. Like, I'm about to tell him something. But so he assumed, and like I said, I another teacher, Mr. Politowski. I'll never forget his fucking name. That's his name. Find him too. I mean, I don't always definitely.
we just calling out names.
I mean, so like being that was happening, on my report card it said like lack of respect for authority. Right? Why is that that's like one of those, like you said, Var, from the school
to prison pipeline. Yeah.
Because you're telling authorities,
resisting arrest. Sounds familiar. Sounds the same.
So I got a D on the report card, but I got nothing less than an 88 on every test, quiz, whatever he gave me. Plus my dad helped me with the class. So of course my parents screaming at me like, "Are you making this? You ain't hand." I'm like, "I swear I handed in everything. Here's my test." My mom goes to the school. The guidance counselor's like, what happened?" Brings the teacher. Before we sit down, the teacher sits down. He goes, "Oh yes, I'm gonna change everything." My mom's like, "You don't even know why I'm here." What are you talking about?
Wow.
And my grades was in pencil, and everybody else's was in pen.
Yo.
So I mean, that's why I don't feel bad, because you still gotta fight. You still have to fight the fight. It's just the fight comes in different variations, different ways. Like,
I ain't gonna hold you. There's some part of me that used to feel like, why me? Like, in Kicking It with Cleveland this episode, I saw that he was talking about going from the exception to exceptional. But I'm gonna be real. I used to resent being the exception. I didn't like being singled out. It didn't feel good to me. It made me feel like I'm better than other people, and I never wanted to feel that way. But I used to feel like, why was I picked to be, why did certain situations escape me but hit other people? And I thought that because I'm like, we came from the same place, the same air, same education, but I come to find out that there's so many things like determination and grit that you can't measure. You know what I mean? You can't measure. But I ain't gonna lie, there was parts of me back in the day to think about why was I able to escape or make it out, quote unquote, but other people that were my friends weren't able to.
But part of what you said is why. I think most people who are consistently the exception don't want to be, because what comes with the exception is also being placed on the pedestal that you don't want to be in.
Yes,
because when you're placed on the pedestal, like I heard someone say, people raise you up just so they can take better aim and
yes.
Better. So like that's really what it is. I think God allows certain people to be the exception because they're humble enough to know that they don't truly deserve it. So like you work hard based upon this, like, I don't deserve to be here. I've seen people in similar situations not have the same outcome that I have. So I'm going to work hard to make sure that I feel more worthy of being in this space that I'm in. So like, I think that's part of it though. Like being an exception is kind of like, it comes with a sense of being humble, understanding that I don't really deserve this, but I have it. So let me still work hard while I'm here.
Yeah, yo. And I mean, I definitely, I do have like survivor's remorse, if you will, to this day. And although I know that within my situation growing up, I have it because my sisters aren't in the same position that I'm in at this point in time. I have a lot of family that not in the position that I am right now. Although I'm the youngest, I'm the first person to graduate from college. I'm the first person to go to college. I have a lot of friends who I grew up with who are still in the same area, potentially even worse off than they were. And now these are not my close friends, but I still have friends, right, who I grew up with. But at the same time, I do look at it as I know I can literally pinpoint certain decisions that I made growing up that allow me to avoid specific situations that will put me in positions where I wouldn't be where I'm at today. Right. I had a friend that in my freshman year in high school, we got really tight. And again, these are not the friends that the people who you guys know. This is someone you would never meet, right? So my freshman year in high school, I was super tight with this individual. We met playing freshman football. It's the first time he kind of like played football in Passaic. He was more so like in Clifton, and we got real tight. So one thing I didn't do or didn't condone, and I still don't to this point, was smoking. Like I just can't be around people who smoke. I just can't. People did underage drinking and stuff like that. I kind of just looked past that, although I didn't do it.
Mr. By the book. What'd you say, Kev? Mr. By the book.
I didn't really care about it. I just kind of, I was like, but I don't know. I think it was just because I grew up in a household where people smoke and the smell got on me. I just hate it. I despise it. And it's probably because of that.
Same.
So he like started hanging out with additional people who was like smoking weed, this and that. And I seen the path that he started to go down. And I literally told myself that I can't associate with that. And although we were extremely tight, I mean, like best of friends, always by each other's house, everything, I flat out told him like, yo, if this is the path that you want to go down, I'm not a part of that and I'm out. So if you want to keep doing that, then by all means, but like, we can't hang out anymore. And I knew that at 14 years old, to separate myself from someone who I called the best friend, that we were inseparable because
holding
of the
people accountable. Holding people accountable at 14 is admirable, yo.
Yeah.
There are people our age now that can't hold their friends accountable. So shout out to you for sure.
He kept going down the path that he wanted to go down, and I separated, and and even still, like it was decisions like that that I knew that I had to make sure I didn't end up another statistic.
I feel that. And I think that, I mean, it's not something that everybody gets to experience, because I think that everybody's experience with Blackness is different. But I do feel sometimes there's a bit of pressure on people who quote unquote make it out to either look back to help out or to feel the pressure of making sure that everybody is good. And I know for sure I'm not immune to that. But next, I want to get into something more tangible. And I think that this is something that we talked about, external factors of Blackness. Now I want to get more into the internal factors of Blackness, and that's how we treat each other. If we look in aesthetically, we got 3 brown-skinned guys, 2 light-skinned guys on the podcast. And, we play the dozens, we laugh and joke at each other's expense. But I want to talk about what that hurt is. Like, what was it like for y'all growing up light skinned? I mean, I have an experience, but I want to, play point guard. And like, I want y'all to talk about what it was like growing up, knowing that you're Black, but then the next step is like your complexion. You kind of get it from different areas. Either one of y'all could start, but just talk to me about your experience as being a dark skinned or light skinned male and what it was growing up.
I can start with that in terms of, I'm one of the lighter fellows in our podcast. But for me, I gotta be honest.
Fellows.
I knew
that is so, so distinguished.
That was so light skinned.
I was trying not to go there.
That was done by design. But growing up, I didn't really, it was never a point where it was like I was never black enough. That was never something that I had to go through, right? Where you are around individuals who maybe say, well, you're not black enough. And then you're around other individuals who will just put you as being black. So you don't fit in with the lighter crowd. And then with the darker crowd, you're not enough for them. So I know people go through that. But for me, I mean, I guess from where I come from, in terms of everyone is either black or Hispanic, and everyone is all different shades within that, and you're around everybody, it was the norm, right? That was
so
what I was around, what I see.
Light-skinned people in Passaic are the norms, what you're saying.
See, you making stuff up. Because the norm is that you're around a bunch of different colors and no one's seeing any different. That's what the norm was.
So Passaic people are colorblind, is what you're saying.
You know what? I'm not even going to entertain that one. But I will say that I know that it is a struggle for some people when they grow up in communities where it is, mixed races, right? When you grow up in areas where there are, a lot of white people, a lot of black people, a lot of Hispanic people, it's a mix, to white eyes, you are, you're black, right? They treat you like you're black, you kind of get stereotyped, but around black individuals, you may not be black enough because, as a light-skinned person, you sometimes could get a pass on certain things, right? Yeah. And that other dark-skinned people won't get. So they look at you as not being, you're not black enough. You're not really down for our cause. You don't go through what we go through. So I'm fortunate I didn't have to go through that. So what about you?
Before I pass the ball, I'm gonna go to Cleveland first. I want to get the opposite contrast. But James, before I give it to Cleveland, did you ever have any identity issues in choosing a side, or you always knew what side you was on?
I was black. I was black then. I'm black now.
Yeah.
I'm identified with black. It was never, it was never an option for me. It was I'm blackity black.
Yeah, no, I figured, but I just wanted to ask because I know that you may represent for some other people. Cleveland, go ahead.
Yeah, man. So like growing up dark skin was interesting. So it wasn't always cool to be like a dark skin.
It sure wasn't. It wasn't.
Like we got called. Well, I speak for myself. I got called like darky African booty scratcher.
Me too. Both of those.
Like that. And it was
tar
like
baby.
The tar baby. I never got called a tar baby. That's a little.
Damn. You gonna leave me hanging? I just co-signed.
You got that
co-signed.
I was thinking.
That's crazy.
Or you got the trophy on that.
You see, he was halfway in. He was like, "Yeah, hold on, never mind."
He's like, "Hey, that's a little too dark for me."
Who said that?
Maybe not.
Well, you know what? Tar baby wasn't the most hurtful. Purple was hurtful, but continue.
Dang. Nah,
I never got called purple, but I saw from the observation, purple is. All right, James.
Nah, man, but like, so like I got called some names because like being dark skinned was like not cool, and then especially there was a transition where it started to become more acceptable. Like, I won't say more acceptable, where it was like being dark skinned was like a little bit cooler. So like when I was young, it wasn't cool at all. I would say middle school age, it started to kind of turn a little bit, but then everybody was looking for the light-skinned dude with the cornrows. And then high school age, it got cool. I don't know if it was because like
it's more Chestnut. He did it.
Morris Chestnut, like rap. You had like Fab, who ain't really light-skinned. You had Fab. You had like people who were like in entertainment spaces who were darker.
Didn't play.
And they were black, so it was like kind of cool to be dark skinned to an extent. But it's funny because like I always took that stuff in stride. I don't think I ever like ran home crying because they were making fun of me because I was dark skinned. I always took it in stride, but I think my sister struggled with it as being a darker skinned black woman than I struggled with it being a darker skinned black man, for sure.
Okay. You wanna hypothesize as to?
Yeah, so like it's funny because like my sister, even now to this day, she has always gotten that like, oh, you're pretty for a dark-skinned girl, like comment, like almost like you're not supposed to be pretty type of comment. It's like a backwards compliment. And she got that all of her life. And my sister, she's always very well, like, you know what I mean, put together. My mom did not let us go out the house looking crazy. And it was kind of like a thing where it was like they were surprised by the fact that there was this dark-skinned young lady who was took care of herself, and the boys liked her in school, and she always got that, like, oh, you're pretty for a dark-skinned girl. And a lot of like the lighter-skinned girls didn't like the fact that she was getting attention, and she would get a lot of hate from the lighter-skinned girls. What's crazy is that I'm now married to a light-skinned black female, and she literally went through the same exact thing except opposite. Like, had the same exact experience.
Interestingly enough, I learned that light-skinned folks got jokes from meeting Alonzo. Like, but no,
it's the genesis of all.
no. But this is the good part. Like, I remember Zoe telling me like he got sharp on his jokes because he got them when he was younger, right? So it was like, oh, y'all got jokes too. Like, as a dark-skinned kid, you grow up thinking that all the jokes come to you, like. You know what I mean? But Zoe, you can go ahead and speak more to your experience. But like, you were the first person that I met that was like, oh nah, we got joke too.
Oh yeah, I used to give my cousins. So the reason being, like how I got sharp like that wasn't even really outside of the household or like the family. My family is like trail mix. Like we all different colors. Roll the dice. You don't know. My kids are darker than me. You know what I'm saying? And my wife is Hispanic. We about the same color, and both my kids are darker than me. So my genetics is like, it's just playing the lottery.
Trail mix is funny.
Yeah, I'm like, my sister dark, my dad dark, my mama like my grandfather who is very dark skinned, and my mom is light skinned.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, and that's her dad. So if people think that's my dad's dad, it's so messed up. But it's funny, like we always laugh about it. So I didn't grow up with that, I guess, resentment or like looking at somebody differently, because I'm like, what you like how, I never was like how guys would say I only talk to light-skinned girls. I'm like, yo, I have people in my family every color. So all shade, we are literally every shade of black. Like,
nah, for sure. We see that at your wedding. Like that ain't so. Oh yeah, that is. Why do you on those side? Why do you on those side?
Yeah. You seen it at the wedding, the graduation parties. You like, wow, like they really all over the place. So, I didn't grow up with that type of animosity or a judgment or any type of bias. But because I was one of the lighter ones, my older cousins were darker, stayed trying to gun me. And like how you say,
hold on, I don't like how you put dark skin with gun. I don't like that. I don't like that.
No, but how you said like you hated being called like purple, right? So
no, I didn't. I said I never got called purple. I said
he said, you know, you hate being called purple.
Oops, my bad. Well, you sorry, but I hate it. Like for light skinned people, it's like you start your comparisons, analogies, and all that. You stop going from like yellow tint stuff to just straight white, and that's why I'm like, I'm not. Like, that's why I used to get annoyed, and I'm like, I could take the yellow jokes and the tan and all this khaki color, whatever, but I can't take you compare me to something like vanilla ice cream. So like that's not it.
Yeah, it's like all right, I draw the line right here, sir.
Yeah, you ran out of jokes. So that's how I got sharp with mine. Just my family Thanksgiving table. Or you've been over Thanksgiving table.
Yeah, I seen it.
It is no holds bar. So
not at all. But I think that your family does it. I mean, I know you might beg to differ sometimes, but your family has this equal opportunity. Everybody gonna get it. Like
correct.
Everybody gonna get it.
It's really training you. It's to train you for like, yo, if you could take it here, then out there you be good money. Like, yeah, I mean, you won't be so sensitive or as offended, or you won't think to be offended because you'll have a comeback so hard that they'll be mad.
Right. KF, how about you? How's your experience growing up as a brown skinned man?
Well, my thing is that, like, you know, like I had cousins that were lighter skinned than we were, and that's kind of where the joke started. You know, because we were darker. Me and my sisters were darker, then my cousins would be lighter, and then like it always felt like the jokes would come. You know, like black is midnight. That's what my cousin would say, right?
That's what James got it from.
Right, probably. So for the thing is that, like, you know, being from a majority black culture, technically, you know, you go through apartheid. You know what I'm saying? And South Africa went through that in the late 1940s. And with that being said, that kind of that white supremacy was inflicted even in like African culture, even in Haitian culture, so to speak, right? And when kind of growing up in that dynamic, you learn that, you know, you're essentially inferior to the lighter skin, you know what I mean? And that was kind of a thing for us. So I kind of like went through that experience with my cousins growing up, and it wasn't so much as the thing is that personally, right? When I say this, I'm speaking from a personal experience. For me, it was always like, you know, yeah, I would get that joke. Then I would go to the public, be only dark skin, but not really get too many jokes. But if I did, it never really kind of hit, as Zoe said, because you was kind of already prepared for it. And you know, long story short is that it exists even in the black community. You know what I'm saying? Like the lighter skin you are, essentially the more superior you are, and you know, it was just a thing. And you know, I kind of had to like figure out where you stood with that. But you know, I think one of the better things, I think, in a weird way, it's gonna sound super like, I don't know how it's gonna sound, but I think me and my sisters kind of were the exception, you know, and always in a weird way, right? We were always kind of like Cleveland mentioned, like cute for a black person, or pretty for a black person, or pretty for a dark person. So that we kind of leveraged that for the idea of confidence, self-confidence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As opposed to looking at it as a deterrent or a negative perspective. But we definitely got hit with it, especially in the family household. You know, that was a thing. And you know, what you want to do, you know,
I think Kev, you represent something, even like something that transcends America. Like you touched on it briefly, but like your family's origin is in the islands, so it's even more. It's like something that is outside of the American context. It is still present, and I know that, you know, Haiti and DR share an island, and you know, on the DR side, the colorism is like you can be killed for being dark skinned on, you know, but I'm not Dominican, I'm not Haitian, I'm not speaking on that, but I'm just, you know, I don't have that experience.
Those things existed, and for the listeners who really may not know what apartheid is, we definitely recommend we're doing research. But just in general sense, it's like laws were enforced, right? Like kind of like racism, like kind of like the segregation and stuff here.
Kind of like Jim Crow, but like intense.
But way more intense, I would say, especially in South Africa. You know what I'm saying? Right. And so it just was a thing. So yeah, like, you know, if you were affiliated with a darker skin, you would kind of look down upon. If you weren't really allowed to marry outside of the race, essentially, because that was a thing. And you know, it just didn't really work. They should have, you know, so it was kind of the thing. So
I want to add this. It kind of breeds too, like the way society have put it in different cultures, U.S. and the island, like self-hate, like and we are strong enough, like Kev said, the exception, to change that to positive fuel, right? Like him and his sisters did, and like you guys did, but everyone doesn't have that same reaction, you know, to it. And it like, it used to bother me when I hear people say stuff. I'm light skinned. I only talk to light skinned girls. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Like, why do you even have that as a thing? Like,
and but I think that, I mean, we all know, but I'll just say it. It's this infatuation with having, like, at least on the brown skin end, like having kids lighter than you. Because I think Black people or dark skinned people have had, this is a perception, have had this hard upbringing, all these jokes and people making fun of you and making you feel away. You're like, my kids won't go through that. And it's what you said, so it's this self-hate. And if you ever look online, there's this infatuation with mixed kids. Like, people want to have mixed children. And it's like, they're intentional. And it's like, that's wild. And it's like, you know,
that's kind of wild, because that's almost like a fetish. Like when you think about it, it's like fetish side. I'm not gonna be able to say that word right now, but you get what I'm saying. Like, you're basically looking at a lighter skinned person in terms of a fetish, as opposed to it really truly being even beyond preference. And I think it's a fine line between
preference
and fetish. Yeah. Like for me, like what I used to always hate though is like I talked to one woman who's light skinned.
I know where you're going.
All you like is light skinned girl. It's like, yo, like
give me a break.
I was attracted to women specifically. My preference was black women. And it just so happened that you saw me dating a light-skinned woman. It doesn't mean that that's all that I like. And even now,
she just wasn't around when a brown-skinned girl was around.
Yeah, they wasn't around. And why would she be? Like, and I think so. Internally, like within our own black culture, we really have to get rid of that because everybody has a black experience, and my experience and my values and what I value in a significant other may be packaged in somebody that's lighter skinned or maybe even outside my race. We don't got to talk about that. But what I'm just saying is like, it's not about one thing being better over another. It should truly be about who you vibe with and who you connect with when it comes to relationships.
Go ahead, Kevin.
I think more so for fetish, I think it's fear for a lot of people, you know, like the fear of trying to bring somebody into this world that's not going to get the same criticism and go through the same issues that they might have gone through. So I think, you know, I low-key envy Zoe's family. I think he got a beautiful family. And I kind of said this the other day. I was like, yo, man, Zoe got some pretty brown kids, man, for him to be light.
I know. How you produce that? You Dr. Dre over there.
I told you it's the genetics, man.
But that's what I'm saying. But to Zoe's defense, is like he is probably the darkest person that I know that's light skinned. Really, he's like how Drake put it. You know what I mean? Dark skin for a light and word.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's the thing though. Like, and I think people are just fearful, man. I think people are fearful. And you know, my wife is light skinned, and I kind of had a conversation with her, like, man, we're gonna have brown babies. You know, and she wants brown babies, which is kind of super dope. So it's just like, I don't know. It's just a thing.
Nah, you want the right page, but I think what you sparked something for me is going towards stereotypes. You know, like there's a certain stereotype of like light-skinned dudes, and you think like Al B. Shore or like somebody like pretty and curly hair, and then you think about dark-skinned dudes, and you think about like, we don't think about Denzel, we think about somebody like rough and rugged, like Tretch. So
Denzel's kind of in the middle. He got in that like.
Nah, so we're taking Denzel. Don't you dare, bro. Don't you? What are you talking about?
Denzel is in that like International House of Pancake color, like.
We're not staying here. Alonzo, Denzel's on our team. Stop it,
bro. It's different spectrums.
Trying to recruit.
Y'all got Tyrese. Y'all got Michael Jordan.
You got Boris Kojo. Yeah. So take them. Going back to the stereotypes. How do you feel about when people meet you that they already may assume something about you? This is at home. This is within the Black community, and I think that like. To be very serious, like I think Black people and dark-skinned people are looked to be more sometimes authentic or sometimes be more threatening. But like light-skinned dudes or people are more, you know, welcoming, but also like soft. So like, how did you, Zoe, you got something to say about that? Like, how do you navigate those stereotypes?
That's probably all right. So that is one of the reasons why y'all have classified me as being angry, right? Right.
Oh, here we go. Blame us.
Wait, what was my diagnosis? Anger translator.
Right? Yeah, the angry translator. Yeah. Okay.
So a lot of that comes from various experiences of people messing with me because they assume he's light skinned, he's soft. It has, and that's why I react the way I react, because I'm like, oh, I'm going to go the extra mile to prove to you never to pull up on somebody that you think and don't judge because you thought he was light skinned. You know what I'm saying? So I've had that experience several times. You guys have y'all been there for a lot of them where I'm like,
yep.
You know what I mean? And then y'all looking like, come on, why y'all messing with him? Well,
he not the one.
Yeah,
he not the one, man.
Like, come on. And I'm like, here we go. He bought the ticket. Like, let's go. So I'll tell you a funny story that happened to me sometime. It was last summer, right? I'm walking with one of my guys. Shout out to my man Storm and Norman, right? I'm with him, and he's an older gentleman, right? Like in his 50s or whatever. Looks, super young, in shape, and he has a fedora on, right? A nice polo on. We dressed nice. We had a meeting. We were all over the place. We were on 34th and 8th Ave, like right there, right where the garden is at.
Right.
And he gets into an argument, right, with some young kid, dark-skinned kid. He was the only black kid in this group of white kids, so we felt he was we weren't even talking to him. He like kind of jumped in our conversation and just kind of like started giving opinions, and then those two started having war words, and I'm like, nah, come on, let's just go. It's 34th Street, too many people. You start seeing people take out phones, and
it's hot.
Yeah, there's 1,000 cops there, so I'm like, it's the middle of like August, so the guy cops. It went left. So one of my guys, he actually wound up smacking the dude, right?
Oh.
So I'm like, oh my God. So I'm like, yo, let's go. I'll grab you down out. We walking across the street. I'm literally about to walk into Penn Station from the side entrance, and the guy comes running back up. So I'm like, what the hell? And he's running to me. Now my man's all on the left, I'm on the right. So he's coming to me and starts trying to square up. I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, that one of y'all gotta get. I'm like, yo, he slapped you and you
he smacked you in your face.
I'm like, why are you running at me, bro? I'm like, listen, bro, you don't want this problem. Just go ahead about your day. And he like, nah, F that. So of course, I take the bag off and I wild out. Right before I go swinging on his man, my dude who smacked him grabbing me like he never seen that side of me. Like, oh, like in another world right now. I'm like, nope. He asked for it. I told him. And so then when I leave, I go on the train to Jersey. He goes back to the Bronx. And I text him like, he like, yo, you good? You made it home? And I'm like, almost there. I'm like, yo, I'm super tight right now. He's like, why? What's up? I'm like, yo, why you think that fool came after me? And he was like, man, you know why. And he was like, because you light skinned. And he's like, so you thought he could do it. And I was like, there go, right there. Story of my life.
Yo, it's crazy because I never thought that. Like, I feel like the ones that I have in my crew, in my circle, that are like the catalyst, that if something pops off, it's always the light-skinned ones. The ones
yo, that's why we're the Juxtaposition podcast. We don't fit molds, yo. None of us fit a mold. But go ahead, Cleveland.
Yo, I'm telling you, my light-skinned cousins are the first one to turn up, yo. I'm telling you, if it's a problem, it's the light-skinned cousins. I ain't gonna name them.
Quiet as kept. That's in every crew. Always, you know what I mean? Always got like, what'd he say? Yo. But wrapping up this topic, I want to end with this, and we're no stranger to vulnerability, so I'm going to ask you to tap into your vulnerability in order to solicit some action items for people who may be dealing with colorism or may not be exposed to it. The question is, what makes your Black beautiful?
Who want to go first?
Confidence, man. Confidence, and trying to find I don't want to sound cliche, but there are some uniqueness that comes with being, I'm gonna speak dark skin, and there's some unique, like even with light skin, it's usually just being Black in general. And I think owning it and not being so subconscious about it in a way that limits your ability to shine, however you can do that, so I think that's the one thing I would speak to all the Black people in the world listening. I would say, love your skin, whatever shade it is, and understand you can stand in the sun a little longer. Appreciate that.
Thanks.
That's the energy right there, source of it anyway. So just confidence and owning it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think that it's definitely about having confidence. But one thing I do want to say is in some stuff that we talked about previously. If you ever feel that you are not accepted because of your skin color, or you think that people are making fun of you or your skin color, or you see things on social media or in ads that they don't look like you, and you feel like there's something wrong with you, there's not, right? I want to start there. There's nothing wrong with you. What the media tries to feed you, try to tell you what's popular, what's the norm, what you're supposed to look like, that's not true. You have to start there. But if you ever feel like that's not helping, it's still, we talked about this before, go talk to someone, right? It's okay to try that conversation, right? So that you can kind of get some reassurance and know that you are perfect the way you are, period. And Black is always beautiful. Trust me.
Talk, James.
So make sure that you always have confidence in yourself. Be who you truly are, and don't allow anyone to take that from you.
Love.
Black is beautiful. Don't Sammy Sosa yourself. Keep your skin the right. Nigga look like
Wow, yo.
Don't do that.
Strawberry ice cream.
He already licked.
You messed up.
Oh wow.
I will say, for me, I think really who I am. Like I don't have the judgment of the dark skin. Like obviously I have jokes, but that's because it's my friends. Like you guys, you know what I mean? We joke back and forth. I could take a joke, so that doesn't bother me. I just think when people start to hate themselves and not appreciate who they are, that bothers me in so many ways. And I try to go out my way to change the narrative, even for light-skinned people, dark-skinned. Like, y'all know I participated in raising 2 dark-skinned females. They're twins. And it was my job to make them understand that Black is beautiful, and we come in a million different shades. So,
right.
And to take care of yourself. If you take care of yourself, if you feel good, if you feel like you look good, you'll do good. Like my grandma used to say. So, I think that's where it comes from. For me, like, people can't tell who you are before you open your mouth or experience, but I try to be even with everybody. So I think that's because I understand about the light skin and how sometimes people say you have an advantage or this, that, and the third. I make sure that I try to be as fair and even, like, and share the wealth. If I am getting separate or preferential treatment because of that, which I don't think I am, but if I am, y'all know, I'm bringing dark skin people with me. Like, come on.
You got preferential treatment because you led the stroll line. That's why he got preferential treatment. Because we needed somebody to glow through the dark.
Yeah, there we go. See the light. I accept it. Let's go.
Why Zoe said I understand the light skin. I don't know if y'all caught that. I understand the light skin.
I get it. Nah, but I will say this, a funny phrase though, right? So I just want, like, my mom made, like how you said earlier, Var, is like dawned on me, like how you said how your perception, or not your perception, other people's perception of dark skin is like, they have like maybe a fear of it, or like some type of aggressiveness or something along those lines. And this was the first time when I realized and learned, like, about no difference between like dark light when it comes to confrontation. Really, my mom, right? My mom goes, "Don't be afraid of him. What you afraid of him because he's blacker than you?" Like, and I'm like, "What?" And I'm like, "What does that mean?" It's like, you're missing the point. And I'm like, the point is, he bleeds like you bleed, so go in there and get yours. Like, that's it. And I didn't get it at first. I'm like, why are you saying that? Like that.
But
you
the fact,
super dark. I'm like, why
the
would
fact that your mom said, she said what she said, but then you focused on that. She said, you're missing the point. That's not what I'm talking about.
I'm like, what you mean? She was like, you scared because or you like, you don't want to because you blacker than you? I'm like, what? I'm like, I was totally confused. But she was trying to make a point, like, it doesn't, we're the same. Like, there's no, because he's better, he's darker, he's this. No. It just is what it is.
Yeah, man. And I think what makes Black people beautiful is literally the fact that we're all so different. Like, I think that's the most beautiful part of Black culture. Like, that you can have 5 men on a podcast who all come from different backgrounds, who are all really truly different shades of Black, if you will. And to me, that's what makes being Black so beautiful. Although we might joke with each other about our complexion, it's really just, for us, it's all in good fun. And I would say for people who have family members, always be conscious of how people are taking it and internalizing the things that you say. I think it's really important that we encourage everyone, let them know that they're beautiful no matter what their complexion is, whether they're darker skinned or more lighter skinned. I think it's important that we encourage the beauty in each shade of Black, because that's truly what makes Black beautiful.
I agree with that. And I think, to me, what makes my Black beautiful is it's a few things. A couple years ago, I decided I don't want to be called African American, despite what Donald Trump says, because there's a certain connection to being Black globally. Right. And I think that's beautiful. Like, you know, Jamaican people who are in indigenous parts of Australia, all parts of, like, all the melanated people worldwide, we are connected to by our skin tone. And I think there's a shared experience with all of us that makes it so we're so unique, but we're all, in some ways, all prosecuted. For some, you know, persecuted, not prosecuted. That's
that court term. Jail talk.
Yeah, we are all persecuted, you know, in the societies that we exist in. So, and I think Black is beautiful also because of the resilience. I wish we didn't have to be resilient, but what we overcome in order to maintain what we stand on is always love and always positivity. And if you put us in a position of, if we have all of our needs met, we pose no threat to anybody. And I think that also, I think Black is beautiful because we always come in peace, yo. Like, we always come in peace.
We're the most forgiving people.
And compassionate, also, very compassionate people.
Very compassionate. Y'all are so compassionate that y'all didn't even ask me how my week was, and I forgot that I didn't even say it.
Man, you had the ball. You should have went.
Yeah, you normally take the shot.
See the blame? See the blame? That's crazy. Anyway,
is that victim blaming? My bad.
I am the victim here. Speaking of victims, we're going to transition to window of opportunity, aka Pacific's picks. Go ahead, James. Give us a stock pick of the week.
Okay, so my stock pick. Wow, not peak. Stock pick for this week, and kind of like this month, as long as you can. We're gonna start with Apple. I know that's like an easy one right now, so I didn't want to dive too deep for you guys just yet. But although it's kind of expensive right now to buy Apple. It's about $400 something a share right now. Apple will be doing a 4-for-1 stock split at the end of business day on August 24th. And while that doesn't change the value of the company itself, it does make it more appealing to investors if they want to buy the stock, because now you basically just divide whatever that stock price is by 4. So it probably is going to be like around $100 or so a share instead of $400 something a share. So that'll make it more appealing to people to buy. But the reason why I think that Apple can really shine light on it, or invest and grow, is because some of the numbers. So and this is from 3-month period end of June of 2020, so their second quarter, in terms of what it grew from 2019. So their operating income grew by 13.4% to $1.5 billion. That net income grew 12.04% to $1.2 billion. The total sales grew 10.92% to $5.9 billion. Furthermore, moving into the third quarter, I believe that Apple's going to sell a ton of iPhones because their new iPhone will launch with 5G. And that is the hottest thing right now. People truly are investing a lot of money into 5G. 5G is supposed to be, this world-renowned internet service with basically no buffering. Once everything is up and running, you can watch movies as if you're on Wi-Fi. And that's what people want. And Apple's launching that with their new iPhones that are coming out in roughly October. So I anticipate sales to be up from that. I still anticipate sales for laptops to increase, for tablets to increase, because people are still work from home. A lot of companies are extending their work from home for the next year. Some people are indefinite. And while people will be going back, I still predict sales to increase over the next 2 to 3 quarters because of that. So because of those things, and because of how their sales have been doing and how they've been going, and that stock split is definitely going to entice more people to buy their stock. I definitely would recommend, if you can buy it now because it's only going to increase. But if you want to wait till the stock split on the 25th, definitely go ahead and grab that.
And that was And that was window of opportunity.
I like that.
Alonzo, you missed your window of opportunity.
Listen, I want to take advantage of the opportunity, but with the 4-to-1 split, like if we buy it now before that, let's say
it doesn't change the value.
Okay, I'm about to say.
So basically, if you buy it now at 420, it's going to split. The value of each share will be $100 and whatever dollars, but you will have 4 shares of that, so it'll be equivalent to exactly what you pay for today. It doesn't change the value of how much you owe, but people who don't owe anything now and they want to buy 1 share, instead of doing $400 something, they can buy one at $100 and something, which can entice more people to buy, which increases the demand, which will increase their stock price overall. But I think more importantly, the way stock move is not just because individual investors are buying 1 share, right? That's not going to move the share price. It's about how people anticipate it to be long-term and how will that change, because institutions really buy a ton of shares in companies. And that's how it really is driven. Mutual fund companies, they look to buy shares of companies to drive their portfolios up and get more returns for their investors. So that's what really is going to drive it. And they look at, what historically happened and what they anticipate is going to happen in the future. And that's how it's going to drive that stock. And I think Apple is going to continue to increase. I think they increased over the last 12 months. It went from, I believe, like high 193 to now like 420 over the last 12 months. And I do want to put this out there. I am no stock expert. I am not offering expert stock advice. This is not for you to, take my advice and say if something doesn't work out, it's all my fault. No,
you cannot sue us.
Yeah, this is nothing like that. This is just a recommendation that I think will do well. But again, that's just my personal opinion. That's all that is.
That was Pasade's Picks. This was the
windows of opportunity.
Window of opportunity. Well, as we transition to end the episode, we're going to kick it over to Zoe for the Serenity Prayer. We're going to sprinkle a little bit of that wealth talk that James was just spewing. So Zoe, take us home with the Serenity Prayer.
Well, as always, I'm glad to do this podcast with you guys. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Hope everyone has a good week going forward. It's going hot. I hope everybody was safe. Whoever's on the East Coast dealing with the light hurricane storm, whatever we had yesterday that knocked the power
man.
out.
Stay safe, brothers.
I lost some power for about an hour and some change. My parents lost for like 6 hours, but everybody's good.
Okay.
So that's the first and foremost. I want to make sure everyone's okay, safe, and going forward. So we want to say, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference between the two.
All right, y'all. And until next time. And I just want to give a plug that next episode is episode 10. We didn't make it to 10 episodes, boys. I think we should. I think that's a big deal. But until next time, people. See y'all next week.
All right.
Peace.